right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3 o'clock in Kitsap County. It is 54 degrees outside. It is a beautiful day. We are in spring. Hopefully, we're in spring. It's still getting pretty chilly in the evening, but we are here present and accounted for. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our fine folks. As always, we have Katie Sharp. We go ahead and bring her on. Katie, how are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing really great, Marwan. I was just talking about how it was sunny outside, so it's a little dark in the adjustment of the lighting, but I'm happy it's sunny. It kind of is a faux spring day, and we're used to those here. Like, we don't want to get our hopes up too much. 54 degrees, it's not light jacket weather yet, I'll just say
Hmm.
that.
For sure. And it's still dipping down to like 36 in the evening, 30,
Mhm.
37. Like it's still pretty chilly out there for sure. And then we have one of my favorite people in the county, Jill Stanton. Let's bring her on in. Give her a clap. Hey, Jill, how are you doing?
I'm good. You know what? I need this soundtrack for when employees arrive to work. Let's welcome Katie. Let's welcome Deb. Let's welcome Laura. Just think we're trying to become one of the best places to work in Washington, and I think that little soundtrack. I think I'm gonna have to borrow that from you, Marwan.
See, it makes people smile, right? You can't help but to smile when you hear it, right?
And feel good about yourself. You feel like a superstar.
Well, you guys are superstars for sure. So it's good to have you here with us today, and it's been a while. So we're gonna jump right in. I don't know if Carla is joining us, but I did want to let people know. I believe that KCR is still accepting KEPA applications until April 14th. Does that sound correct, Katie?
Yep, that's correct. In person, I think. Yep, you have the address, and I know there's an online application as well. So there's a link on their website, and as well as I think on our Facebook page. There's a lot of places that you can find information for the KEPA applications, and again, get your information in. It's worthwhile.
So super important. There's only a few days left. So please, please, please get down to KCR and get help if you need it. Okay, for sure. Now, with that out the way, let's jump into some updates and things that are going on in the world of Bremerton Housing Authority. What is new in the zoo?
I can start on Saturday. I gotta find the information for you. I might send it to you. But on Saturday, there is a resource fair at Periwinkle Park up by Bay Vista by Winco from 12 to 3. And um, it's a community resource fair. So a lot of organizations are coming. We know it's supposed to be rainy, so we're preparing for it. But if you want to talk to any of us, I think there will be quite a few organizations there and just a great place to get resources and walk around the park.
Absolutely. And I will try to pull up that flyer unless you have some info handy. I can pull that up before the show ends. And
Mhm.
I will tell you what, this is definitely going to be a really good resource fair. All the resource fairs are good, but I'm a little biased right now. And we always announce things on the conduit that doesn't get announced anywhere else. So G2 is involved. We will be there. The conduit will be
Yay.
there. And for this event, we're actually going to be giving out uh, 100 free rides valued at $50 round trip. We're also going to be giving away bento box, also candles, while supplies last. But I think we have enough for at least the first 100 people, and then we're also going to be raffling off some larger prizes also. So shout out to Pups Cups and Cones, Boomhouse Studios, and of course Bailey and his restaurant down there. So you will be able to win a free meal or studio time. We have some really great giveaways on that day, so you're not going to want to miss it. So come on down for sure. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat.
That's
And this is the first
awesome.
time I've announced that, so no one knows. except for the county.
It came up fast, but any chance to get everyone together, it's just nice to see people in person. We've learned from Project Connect to talk about kind of our services and answer any pending questions. So, and we also have fun things, so it will be fun.
Yeah, so come on down. Put it on your calendar right next to Winco, correct?
Right next to Bay Vista and Winco, yep. I don't think the park has parking, but I hear there might be parking. I don't know, but I think there's be parking that will be dedicated for the event. So
Nice. You know what? I'm gonna put that on the ticker and just let it go for the evening or for the afternoon, for the duration while we're on here. All right. So what else is going on? That's a big one. See, I can always count on you, Katie, to give the really good info.
just trying to keep on time, right? I mean, we can only remember so much, and so
Man.
it's just important to get that information out because we might have heard it like maybe on a Facebook feed like a week ago and not put it in our calendars. So we've got to say it again, and I enjoy sharing.
True story. Well, I appreciate you for that.
This is why she makes a great communications manager.
That is a true story.
I was talking to my husband. I'm going to say this on the podcast, but I was talking to my husband yesterday about something, and he's like, it's like communicating. I'm like, okay.
I cannot believe you said that. I will not be able to forget it.
I just was like, how did I not think about that before? But I appreciate that. He was actually a communications sergeant in the Army.
Oh, really?
So I was like, what's the difference? Communications sergeant. He worked on radios. Communications manager. It was a good chat.
and so what did he call you?
Do I need to repeat it?
Oh, yes.
Communicating. See, we always have too much fun here, Marwan.
It's so perfect.
It really is.
One thing I'm working on actually, again, right this moment, is I'm trying to get the coalition email out. So everybody on our email list, which our email list is growing, it's about 365 right now, so it is growing.
Wow.
So the Kitsap Housing and Homelessness Coalition has a monthly meeting over Zoom. The last one was actually in person, which was a great event. So I am sharing the agenda. It's a recurring Zoom link. Most people already have it, but also some information. The point in time count is going to be on the agenda just to talk about the preliminary data that came out from the county. And also Jill, Tony, and Joe from the task force are coming on to do a presentation.
Oh, nice.
So there's my transition to you, Jill.
Okay, perfect. Yes. So yeah, I'm excited about that. We're pulling it together as we speak. So that should be a great time. And it's really great to actually have that task force present at the coalition and kind of combine the two organizations in this in a way. I mean, not really combining them formally, but making sure that we're aware of what each other what we're both doing, what the organizations are doing. So anyways, that'll be a really good informative day for all of us. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, I have a few things actually. And I don't know, Katie, if I say some of the things that you guys have already gone over, then just let me know. But one thing I think is important to let people know is that the Tacoma Housing Authority Housing Choice Voucher waitlist is open until the 17th. So you can, if you're from Kitsap County, you can apply for their waitlist. So we're encouraging people to do that. I believe they have the same rule as us that you have to, if you get a voucher, you have to live in their jurisdiction for at least a year before you can port. But for our households who are experiencing homelessness, that's not a bad option. Housing is, Tacoma's not that far away, and housing is there's a lack of housing everywhere, but to get a voucher is just it's such an important tool in getting housed somewhere. So I think that I believe that that information is on our website. I can double check that, but if it's not, you can for sure go to the Tacoma Housing Authority website, and they're definitely advertising in Kitsap County and wanting Kitsap County applicants. So that's the first thing. Um, the other thing I just wanted to mention is that we did have our project-based voucher application or RFP out, and we received applications back. We did two requests for proposals. One was for housing Kitsap vouchers, and one was for BHA vouchers. For the BHA vouchers, we received 3 applications. We have scored all of those, and we'll be making an announcement this week, but it'll be an announcement that I think everybody's going to be happy about. So there were no losers in this process for BHA this round. So we're excited about that. And then let's see, the other thing I just wanted to mention here is that one of the Housing Authority's goals is to provide home ownership opportunities for both our voucher holders and in general low-income households. And so we have been getting some internal training on this, and we'll be talking to our board about this at our next board meeting, because we really want to have this program, and now we have some solid ways that and some resources that we believe it's going to be something we can implement, if not this year, next year, with a goal of at least finding one household to make successful in this program. So that is work that has been taking up some of my time. And then we've just been doing a lot of work internally to make sure that our processes are as efficient and customer service oriented as can be. So a lot of our focus has been on our Housing Choice Voucher team, and we know that this has been a program that's crucial in our community, but also a staff that has been really overworked and had a lot on their plates. So we're taking some time over the next year to implement some changes to really help support this team to become stronger, to implement technology and other process improvements that will just make them more efficient. And with that goal, we have hired a business process improvement manager. So we're very excited about that. It's a long time coming, and she'll be starting in her role, I believe, next week. So hoping to provide better customer service as part of this plan. So I think that's an important thing for your audience to know.
And I want to add to that too. Like part of our strategy is preparing our staff to provide better customer service, and to do that, it's really making sure our staff are taken care of so they can do that. So that's the first step. And so we will be working on the customer facing processes, but also a lot will be happening internally to make sure we're prepared to provide the customer service level we want to.
So can I ask a question? Did this come about from the community needs assessments, from some other internal feedback, or work that you're doing internally? Like what made BHA come up with, this is what we need to improve customer service?
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't come up from the customer or from the community needs survey, but it's been something we've been aware of for a while through our voucher feedback. And the number one complaint I think that we get is that we don't return calls or get back to people timely. And we know that feedback is true. And so one of the big pushes, as you recall, 2 years ago, we were in a position with HUD where we were not utilizing not only all of our vouchers, but we weren't even utilizing all of our HAP dollars. And so we were at risk of recapture. So it immediately kind of thrust us into this position of maximizing our utilization, which meant issuing as many vouchers as we could. This created a lot more work on that team, but there really wasn't a choice. We did that knowing that the team was already struggling. We brought some more staff in, of course, but the push really was getting vouchers on the street and leased. That came with getting the FMRs raised so that we could have more units that were affordable to our voucher holders. So there was this big body of work that was happening, and we still knew we had this problem with this not having the staff have the resources and the tools, or even if they had the tools, not understanding how to use them effectively and efficiently. So now that kind of major push is not halted, but has slowed significantly because we've utilized all of our money now. We still haven't utilized all of our vouchers, but we need money to do that. So we're at a really good spot where we can address these other internal issues. And so we're focused on doing that. And when we recognize a significant problem in our organization, and we're ready to take it on, we really, really take it on. And what I mean by that is we focus on it. So the executive team meets 3 times a week. We put together a goal of what does success look like, and then we figure out what do we have to do to be successful in the goals of this problem or project that we're handling, and who's going to take ownership over each piece of this, and how are we going to hold ourselves accountable? Because at the end of the day, we're giving ourselves a year to have this under control. So it really takes a lot of focus. We've done this with our IT systems as well to make sure that our IT systems are secure and that we're protecting the data that we're responsible for. So there's been some big internal things that we've had to straighten out and work on. So
IT, rent cafe, customer service. Yeah, these are really big deals here.
They
Huge
really are.
changes.
Yeah. I mean, it's significant. So, Katie, have you already talked about the strategy work that we've done and shared?
No, I haven't talked about it here yet. No.
Okay. So, I mean, in alignment with this, one of the things that we've made a priority is to spend time on a strategic plan with our board, with our staff, with our leadership team, with our communications manager, and everybody that's involved in this. And it has been a significant undertaking, but what it has resulted in is a strategy, a 4-part strategy, and how we communicate that strategy both internally and externally has been also prioritized. So I just recently gave a presentation at the Bremerton Rotary, and the whole presentation was formed around these 4 focus areas and the strategy of the Housing Authority to carry out its mission. And we think it's so important that when we talk about the work that the Housing Authority does, we frame it in the way that we are approaching it. And part of it is putting in the accountability tools to ensure that all of the projects that fall under these focus areas are being focused on, that we have identified again what success looks like and how we're going to accomplish it and who is going to take ownership over it. So with that in mind, I think we've got a really good 1-page strategy document that we put together. Katie was a major she undertook this work and so I don't know if we can share that. Is there a way to share that?
It's on the website. Let me see. We're kind of being really intentional about how, we want this strategy to be our strategic plan, not just this year, but just to be the framework of how we really strengthen ourselves and connect ourselves to the mission moving forward. So I can pull it up if you'd like to see it, Marwan.
Absolutely. I would.
Let's see.
Really
I'm never good at sharing screen here, so we'll see. Restream always gives me some. Here we go. Zoom in.
You got it.
So this document can be found. Here, I'll show you where. Oh wait, you can't see. I always have a problem sharing. I'm like, I'll show you where. Okay, the screen is being shared. So this is on our policies page on our website. So if you go to About BHA, you can see a bunch of policies in right now. This is where it's at. We're going to post this more up front on the front page. There's just a lot in the background, making sure that everybody knows this plan internally our board, and we've been so successful in doing this in a way that we're using this every day. We're talking about, let's say, focus area 1, residents, participants, focus on listening to and caring for our residents and participants. It becomes part of our language. And as you can see, the whole entire plan is called Focus on the Good. And we've really embodied that kind of motto here through a really exciting all-staff meeting we had a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that really it's not just words anymore. It's how we are living and how we are working. So it's kind of really exciting from our perspective. Like I've been living this for a really long time, so I'm excited to share it. As a really broad overview, I don't know what you want to say, Jill, but focus areas are here in the middle. So residents and participants. Number 2, focus on cultivating strong relationships with our community, partners, and landlords. Number 3, focus on strengthening our financial position as a reliable resource within the communities we serve. And 4, what we were talking about, our HCB program and preparing everybody for really providing the best customer service, is focus on building our organizational capacity to support growth and change. And under each of these focus areas, there are several objectives that could be 1-year or multi-year objectives. So there's a lot going on this one-page document. But we encourage everybody to look at it and read it. And what are your questions, Marwan?
Well, one, I love that you're so proactive in doing this work. Uh, I guess one of my questions is, as you have built this, some of the feedback, because Katie and I went over a little bit of the community needs assessment last week, Jill. Did you see any, like, hey, we're addressing some of those issues that the community was saying? I mean, you already got feedback, which put you down this path, but from the CNA, was there any synergy there?
Personally, when we were looking at it, I was thinking about our strategic plan and our focus areas. And one thing that, again, was not surprising, but it's just nice to have data to back it up, is not a lot of people knowing how Section 8 works or what Section 8 is, and putting out maybe a flyer that says waitlist is opening. And they're like, I don't know what that is, so I guess it doesn't apply to me. And that education piece and the outreach. So when we think about focus area number 2, cultivating strong relationships with our community, and our objective 2C, which is help increase the general public understanding and support for the BHA mission. So really putting out more materials and outreach in a high level, like this specific one-pager, instead of make it really complicated, trying to put it out in bite-sized pieces and help everyone understand, especially while our waitlists aren't open. We have these opportunities to really educate in different ways. Like at the resource fair, we're going to be there talking about, let's say, Rent Cafe and signing up so you can be ready for the wait list and things like that. So we really want to be focused on our community.
So another question that I have, and I love the accountability piece that you talked about, Jill. But when people embark on strategic planning, one of the big things is, well, how do you measure it? How do you know if your customer service has improved?
Yep, that's the question that we're asking ourselves too. So for each, the way we're monitoring this is we actually have a project tracker. We're in process of moving it from one platform to another platform right now. But part of that project tracker entails listing out data points that say, what are the steps that we need to take to get to the end goal? And then putting on, if it's a date related thing, putting on deadlines or timelines by which the different pieces need to be completed. And I think the first step in this is what I said earlier, is we said to ourselves, okay, if we have a goal of improving customer service, what does success look like? So we can actually say, this is what that means. Maybe that means that calls are returned within 24, that 80% of our calls are returned within 24 hours, or that we do customer service surveys and we expect that 70% are going to come back with, positive experience, or however we're going to do that. So we've really intentionally, for every project, we've had to put as much detail to it as we can to ensure that there is a measurement component. And part of that measurement component is also listing who takes ownership over the project and making sure that that is the person, knows that they're the owner, and knows that they're going to have to report out in some capacity on that project, and that there's an end date. So for our HCD optimization goal, we have given ourselves a year. We've identified 5 areas that we need to see vast change in. We've identified the various projects that have to happen. What are the resources that we need to have in place in order to accomplish those goals? So we've been pretty intentional about this, and it takes a lot of time. But we've already seen, that just putting things in a project tracker and making sure every Tuesday at our executive team we're looking at that. There's 100 projects that we've identified. We don't look at all 100 projects every time we meet, but we at any time I want to go in and see we're updating the tracker so I can say, oh, there's that one project, where we at on that, and I'm not going to be the owner of all of them. So it's really just a way of approaching work that is organized and that we don't miss things. One of the things that have happened in the past is we've missed crucial deadlines for things, and sometimes it's really important things like funding and things like that, and we just can't do that. We're not in a place as a community where the needs are so high, we can't afford to miss anything. And I think that also, that mindset is part of this, the Kids Up Affordable Housing Task Force mindset, is that, okay, as Joe Crane always says, if affordable housing is a crisis, we need to treat it as a crisis. And part of that is what funding opportunities are out there, and let's not miss any that we could possibly have. And so now that's just like a focus of, Tony is in charge of that committee, of locating all of these different resources and saying, if there's a resource, especially if it's a resource that's specific to Kitsap County, we get all of it. And that's never really, since I've been here, I've only been here for a couple of years, and I think maybe in the past there had been some of that focus happening, but now it's either it's happening again or it's happening for the first time. I couldn't say, but it is happening now. I see it clearly, and I think that's what we're trying to do internally too. But Katie did a great job of going over the strategy, and she really has been living this.
Yeah. I would say, I know you're going through that, right, with the library as a board of trustees?
Ooh, yes, and it's a lot, D2 is tiny, so compared to the BHA and the Kitsap Regional Library, it's like, whoa, there's so many different things to consider.
Yeah, it's a process, and I think taking time with the process will create a better product, because we've done strategies before. Every year we come out with some goals and things, but actually putting in the work, saying this is what we want and this is how we're going to do it. And when Jill says 100 projects, that's 100 plus. It's not even a lot of new projects. Every person was holding all of these projects in their head, like, oh, I need to do that, but then they get caught up with the day to day. And who's overseeing it? I guess it's my responsibility since I'm thinking about it. And instead, we want to put it all in one place to show, well, look at how much good we're already doing. And that's where the focus on the good came from, is really, we don't know how much good we're doing if we don't track it. And we have to be satisfied with progress, because, again, 100% utilization is a large goal. And if that's the only goal, then everybody who doesn't meet that 100% is going to be disappointed in themselves, even though they put in so much work, and it's not possible based on external factors. So let's focus on the good. How many vouchers we did? So many that we have to stop issuing vouchers, because we are so good. And I wouldn't say stop issuing, and Jill's like surprised, but I'm saying is we are at a point where it's just it's just amazing. And now Jill's like, oh my gosh, what did she just say?
No. I think that's right. It's really, I think your mindset shifts over time a bit. When I was like, oh boy, when I first got here, we have to fully utilize 600 vouchers. Well, that that was it's not an um, impossible task, but it would be impossible in a year or even 2 years. But now we've even 200 was, wow, how are we going to do this? But we did it. We did the max that we possibly could, to the point where we did not have recapture from HUD, to the point where now they're like, you guys are going to run out of money. And so now we're looking for more money because we don't want to stop these
Right.
vouchers. We want to continue. So it's just a shift in mindset of, okay, now we know we can get vouchers out there and we can be successful. And we can probably be successful for another 200 over the next 2 years. But now HUD
Right.
has to fund us. So it's a different strategy now. We're not going to stop. We're just looking at it differently.
No, I'm so glad you're able to explain that too, because that's what we see, right? If we don't track things, if we don't understand what's going on, then it's just the day to day. Oh, it's just more work. It's just more work. It's just more work. It's like, no, we want to continue doing the work, but now how like just a different mindset change. So, we learn things every day, just like I just learned that. So,
Well, what's so important about the transparency and the willingness to come on and talk about it as an organization to the community is, from an outsider, our experience is different, right? So if we're feeling like, hey, you didn't call back in 24 hours, it's like, hey, we have over 100 things that we're trying to measure and keep a track of. So, okay, I can't keep track of 8 things. So it's very understandable when one or two things kind of falls a little bit by the wayside, especially when it's like, hey, this voucher is going to open up for 10 days. All right, we got to go in right now and do this right now. Oh, and we need to be in Olympia. Oh, we need to talk to HUD. And so, things are going to get missed and isn't going to be at 100%. So, wow, 100 different things that you're tracking and measuring, and they all have this significance to them. So I think that's awesome.
but remember, number one focus area is on purpose. It's our
Mhm.
residents and participants. So as much as we are working on larger projects, they're always going to be number one. So.
That's right. I'm glad you mentioned that. And the great news, the very exciting breaking news that we'll just break out right here on the conduit, is
I
that
like it.
Katie and I are going to the conference together in Portland, not next week, but the week after. So we'll have a good 3 hours, no, 6 hours round trip to just talk and come up with all sorts of new things and ways to be
More
successful.
projects? Sure.
Or just creative ways of accomplishing the projects we've already identified.
One little thing that Jill, you mentioned today, and I kind of forgot because I hadn't heard about it, but just adding the text piece to the voicemails has increased our efficiency. Like those little things are so important when we look at it from a customer perspective, our customers being our staff in this case, and how we could automatically do a text transcription in the email that includes the voicemail email. And of course, it's not always 100% accurate, but the fact that you could understand the message before listening to it
Mhm.
has really, I would hope, and streamlined some of our processes. So.
Oh, it has. For me personally, that has made, such a significant difference, because for me to take the time to listen to a voicemail, first I got to remember my password to get into my voicemail, and then you got to listen. But now I don't really have to, because I can get what the message was just from reading it. So it's like an email. Somebody leaves me a voicemail, I see it on my phone, and like, oh, okay, that's all they need. And I can even just say, Lorna, this is what this person needs. Can you call them? It's like 100% efficiency, time saver
Wow.
for me.
And that's a baseline we need, but those are things that we want to put in place so we can start tracking, because we're doing all these improvements, like we said, and we want to focus on the good things and the progress we're making. But it's hard if you don't have a baseline, right, Marwan? So I
Yeah.
think having the community needs assessment is a great starting baseline for a lot of things that we're doing. But also internally, we're putting in more baseline tracking just to make sure we can appreciate how far we've come, you know.
Oh, the other kind of exciting news for our residents is one of our main goals is to be able to be 100% caught up on our work orders, and then also to do unit turns as quickly as we possibly can, given how long it takes to get materials. And these are two areas that we've fallen pretty behind on. So we've put in a process improvement plan for that, and it includes mobile inspections. And one of the very simple things that it includes is giving our maintenance the resources that they need to be more efficient. And for many, many years, we, just like a lot of housing authorities, have operated on this do everything as cheaply as possible. And that's important. I mean, fiscal responsibility is crucial, but sometimes we're biting the hand that feeds us by not thinking differently. And so one of the things that was happening is we had um, a limited resource of maintenance vans. So we didn't have enough for all of our maintenance staff members. And so two people would be going here and drop one person off, and then the van with all the tools and the materials goes over here. And so this person is waiting. And we just decided a really needed resource is everybody needs their own van with their own tools, with their own resources to do the job, to not be waiting, to not be having to do all this crazy driving around Bremerton. And it was such a shift in thinking that I actually didn't know that they didn't all have their own vans.
Wow.
Somebody finally said, well, yeah, we're behind, but it would be a lot easier if we each had our own van. And I'm like,
Like what?
why don't you each have your own van? It was just something that they never thought would be allowed. So they didn't even think to ask. And so we did have some money specifically for capital that we could use to buy vans. And so it was like, I try to minimize our annual operating costs as much as we can. But when it comes to resources and capital that have year long, several year payoffs, like that to me is a no brainer. And so we went out and we bought 3 vans so that every one of them has the vans and the tools that they need to do their
Nice.
jobs.
And that's really important, right? And that's hard to do, is to really kind of take a time out and prioritize, okay, what do we need to fix? What do we need to address? Because we're so busy doing the work, right? And then you can find these jewels of, just making, I mean, it's a huge change to them, of course, and then, to the clients and customers that you serve. But it seems so simple when you say it out loud, but it makes such an impact.
Absolutely. So yeah,
I
it's
think,
exciting.
I think it's all about understanding the root cause and not fixing the symptoms. And I think we're so used to, there's so much going on. This is happening. This, check that box off, fix this, but it always is going to come back to the root cause. So it's nice to have time and people being open enough to say, hey, this might be a good idea. And we're saying, oh, well, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And so having that engagement has been really important.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I thought you might have had one or two little updates, and it's like huge. Like, this is why you haven't seen me in like a month.
Yeah, this is what happens when I haven't been on for a while. And we're very excited. I've been excited since I started, but there's been moments of discouragement and everything. But I think just getting ourselves organized around strategy and being able to share that in our community and share it with our board, it's just really exciting. So we're going to be getting a new board member. We're very excited about her. I can't announce it yet because it has to go through the city council, but she's someone that you're going to know and you're going to be like, yay.
Nice, nice. All
Just
right,
a little
well,
teaser.
a little teaser, but we definitely look forward to it. So, I don't know where Miss Jewel is, but we do have some folks that I'm going to go ahead and bring on. So we have Maria Fergus and Jessica Guidry from Kitsap Public Health that are joining us today. And as I was telling folks at the top of the hour, unfortunately, Kirsten Jewel is moving on from her position, and we definitely wish her Godspeed. And like, I wasn't able to make it to the goodbye on Friday, and so wanted to, extend an invitation for folks to, say some nice words about Kirsten and just kind of show their support here. Maria and Jessica, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Can you guys hear Jessica and Maria?
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, fantastic. Well, how are you today, both of you?
Well, it's a great day. It's beautiful outside. The clouds are looking amazing. The sun's coming through, and the trees are blooming. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a cherry tree across the street from me, and I love it. It gets really messy, but it looks really pretty.
Yeah. It's always nice when it's across the street, not on your property, right?
Well, that is a true story. Or if it gets on your car, which is horrible. So
That's right. That's right.
So now Kirsten said she was going to be on here this morning, and maybe she got caught up. She only has 2 days to get herself together. But if you would, I wanted to turn it over to you just to say some words. Yeah, I'll just do that.
I first met Kirsten at the Project Connect planning group, and just to see how she brought everything back together, even though it hadn't been done in the last few years because of COVID, and figuring out who the partners were, who are prior committee members were, where the information was, and putting all that together and keeping us on track as we got closer and closer to Project Connect. And then she showed up the day of just with a van full of jackets and winter items to give to our unhoused neighbors. And it just was a great experience for me to participate. It's the first year I've participated in Project Connect, but she really brought it to life at the meetings by telling us what it was about, what happened in the past, and just helping those that were brand new to this to understand the impact that this event has in our community. So that was a beautiful way to meet her and work with her.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're coming on and she's headed out, right? That was something
That's right.
Jill talked about. She said, yeah, there's a lot of folks leaving, but there's a lot of good folks that are coming and a lot of good folks that are here. And that's definitely a true story.
And I wish her the best where she's headed, and just grateful that she did so much while she was in the county. Hopefully she'll stay local and we'll bump into her.
Yeah, I hope so. Jill, do you know, or Katie, where she's going?
She's going to the Department of Commerce.
Oh, really? Okay.
But she'll be remote.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jessica.
The Kids Up Housing and Homelessness Coalition newsletter, and I think there was a letter from Kirsten in there. And I think she mentioned that she's doing mostly teleworking, so I think she's still going to be based in Kitsap. It's just that now she's working on state issues, so doing her good work, but at a state level. But yeah. So Marwan, can I gush about Kirsten a little bit too?
Please do.
So Kirsten to me is the kind of professional that I aspire to be. Kirsten has such heart in her work, and she's always brought such compassion for the people that she's serving, but she also is really able to link that heart work and compassion to policy and to action. And I've known Kirsten for a few years now, and I've had a couple of conversations with her in the past year that have really affected me. And Kirsten has talked with me about what it means to humanize government. And Maria, I don't know if you've heard me use the word humanized government, but I actually learned that from Kirsten. And in this one conversation that we had, just that term alone has really shaped how I want to see myself working in government, and really connecting with the people that we serve and looking at how our processes need to be improved to really meet our community where they're at and to meet their needs, and not to just try to make our community match our processes, if that makes sense. So that plus her advocacy for people who have so much going against them and have been, underestimated. And the fact that Kirsten's not just about, oh, the greatest good for the greatest number of people, she also thinks about who is hurting the most, who needs support the most, and she has that compassion. And she's just really impressed on me about that. Her professionalism. I love the way that she talks about issues in a way that's really informative, but also in language that the rest of us can understand. And she's really good with process as well. So I haven't had the chance to work with her very closely, but the times I have worked with her, seen her speak, been at meetings with her, I've just always been impressed with her heart, um, her amazing ability to make connections, and the fact that she chose to do this work. And it sounds like she's going to be still advocating for people, but just at a bigger scale. So yeah, I'm going to miss her a lot. And to mirror what Maria said, even though she's leaving, her Kirsten's impact will stay with us, and she's greatly loved, and we'll constantly remember it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Katie.
Oh my gosh, Kirsten's impacted me in so many different ways. I think I first met her on the coalition when I wanted to do something more for the community, and she's always so welcoming and so willing to share. I mean, our experience on the podcast has taught me so much too about, the deep dives and understanding, how things work, and that she understands it from the top down. Like, she understands every piece of it. And so I know she's going to be a resource. She already offered definitely for the coalition to come on and be a state representative if we need one. And I'm just so excited for her. I was luckily able to attend the farewell, and she sent me such a nice email to thank me, and I hope that it's not a farewell. She's just changing jobs, but she'll be there, especially in this virtual working world. I know she cares so much about our community, and to reiterate, she has so much heart, but for her to really put it in a way that everybody starts to understand and say they know what they're doing. Kitsap County does care, and I felt it all the time. So I've just learned so much from her that I always remember and I always share. So it becomes something like humanizing government, like you were saying, Jessica. Like, it just becomes part of your terminology. You realize, oh, I learned that from Kirsten, and so I'm super grateful. I know she'll always be there for us. She will still stay from my understanding, still be in Kitsap County. So she really will stay on top of the issues here. So I'm really just excited for her. I know she deserves it, and she's going to make big change and big impact. So I'm excited for her.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky, in the fact that she's going to Commerce, and so she's worked in this county for so long, and she knows the issues, so she can really be a huge advocate for us, and it is a passion point for her. I'll save my comments for the end. But Joe, would you like to share some words?
Yeah, I think kind of going off what Katie said is I'm really happy for her. I'm really happy for her because I think that she has worked really hard. And while she was, I mean, I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has already said, but the impact has been, just like, I don't know anybody that's had more of an impact on housing in Kitsap County than Kirsten. But that being said, I think that her impact can be more, and I think that she was ready for it to be more. And while I think Kitsap will always be a priority for her, really the issue is not just state but national. And who better? I just can't think of anybody better. It's a huge loss for us, but she's built a really strong foundation at the county, and just personally, agreed. She was one of the very first people that I met when I came to Kitsap, and she was really helpful in educating me about just the needs of the community and also the various partners that I could rely on. And she always would say, our superpower here in Kitsap County is our partnerships. And I have really felt that. I mean, I've never seen a community that has such incredible partnerships. And I think she was probably like that center of all of that, because whenever there was a problem, she knows who to reach out to. And I remember several conversations where there'd be something on my calendar from her, and there'd be a couple of people, and she'd be like, "Well, we have this issue, and you guys are the ones. So what are you gonna do?" And so, she just really had this way of knowing the right people to go to be effective and to do what needs to be done. And she's a good friend, and I'm so glad she'll be around, and I don't feel like I'm going to have to miss her, because I feel like I'm going to probably still see her quite a bit. But just on a final note, I know when I first came, and there was just a lot, and there was a lot of people trying to get to know people. There was huge things that had to be accomplished. And then I was working with her actually on getting the foster youth independence program up and running. So we were meeting pretty regularly. And one time she said to me, she said, "You have joined this partnership, this community in such a graceful and impactful way. I just want you to know that." And I was like, oh my gosh, to hear that from Kirsten, like I started to cry, because it really made me think, like she noticed how hard this is and how much we're trying here at the Housing Authority. And she expressed gratefulness when she was really like the one helping us. So I really appreciate her.
Anyone want to give any feedback on what anyone else has said? I see a lot of head nods there. So, like, definitely the choir. Sure. For me, I remember meeting Kirsten at One Book, One Community for the Kitsap Regional Library before COVID. And we were on a panel together, and G2 was pretty new, and the way I ended up a part of that whole thing was just really bizarre. I had back surgery, and I was there to support Shaylin, and ended up on the cover, and so it was all kind of just serendipitous how everything played out. And little did I know that we would uh, be so entwined in doing the work later on, especially through COVID, and the quarantine and isolation centers, and transporting COVID positive folks that were unhoused and getting them where they need to go. And we're so far past COVID right now. Many of us can't remember how uncertain and how scary it was in those beginning months, and what had to be done, and full hazmat suits at Salvation Army, and just trying to navigate all of those things. And Kirsten dealing with, okay, how do we house everyone? How do we still keep them safe? We don't know what we don't know. We're just trying to figure it out. She's definitely been a consummate professional, helping with, eviction assistance, and bringing money into the county, and roping in the buy-in fours to get equity in regards to who has access to these funds. And so a lot of those things will go unheralded and unsaid, because she was doing so many different things, and five people are speaking and everyone has said something different. But as Jessica was saying, that hard work, manifests itself in so many different ways. So just very appreciative of the work and the passion for the population that we all serve, who are often forgotten, and there are never enough resources. Um, and it's tough, right? And a lot of people can burn out in that work. And I'm so glad that not only is she not burnt out, but she's going to a higher level with that lived experience, and taking that to a different stage to advocate not only for all people that are suffering in these conditions, but to advocate specifically also back to Kitsap County and to Bremerton and all the areas involved. And the fact that she's going to be teleworking and still here, I know she'll keep her ear to the pulse of what's happening, and just really still be a voice for us. So very excited about that, and uh, very honored to work with someone so passionate.
I was curious because, so the county had a celebration for Kirsten, and it wasn't. So typically what I see, and I'm not an expert in government or anything like that, but typically you don't have going away celebrations for folks unless they're retiring.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the fact that Kirsten had such a huge impact But how could we not celebrate her when she left, if that makes sense? So the idea that we don't, typically folks don't, we only celebrate folks leaving if they're retiring. We don't typically celebrate folks who leave to go to new jobs, but the fact that she's going on to something that'll still benefit all of us. But I just think the fact that there was that celebration of her, to me, was huge. It wasn't just friends taking her out to lunch, but it was like this formal recognition. So to me, that really shows just the huge impact that, it's one in another way that shows what the great impact that Jewel had.
And it was fairly well attended as well. I was there too. It was a lot of people there to talk to her.
So in that, I missed it, and I hated that I had to miss it. Was it stated how long she had been in that position working for the county?
There was not a formal presentation. We want to say
it was 8 years on the flyer, but she's also been working in other positions. I think I don't want to misstate, but it was close to 20.
Yeah, I think that's what she told me. It was like 23 years that she'd been in some sort of position there. So.
And again, this is a tremendously difficult field. So 8 years at the county, 20 plus years of doing this work. It takes a special person to hang in there and navigate through all of it, right? So yeah, we should give her an applause for. So since she is not here, the next time that she comes onto the conduit, she will be in her new position. So I'll have to change her title and put Commerce on there. And, it is what it is. We lost Matt. He's moved on, but he's still also going to be advocating. So when he comes back, he'll be under a different banner also. But it just kind of speaks to the passion that we have here in the county to really work together. And, we're so polarized in this country. We have to look at the good things, the wins, and celebrate those wins. Just as you were saying, there isn't typically a going away celebration unless you're retiring. So to acknowledge that we can do something different, right? BHA is doing something different with their strategic planning and working on internals and externals, and not just customer service, but also the experience of the employees at BHA. So, I just applaud you all, Maria and Jessica, all the work that you're doing at Kitsap Public Health are really holding, public health accountable for equity and saying, hey, public health is, there's racism that is steeped in there and work has to be done. And you are constantly in the community doing things on off time, on time, finding unique ways to build, bring community together. I get emails from the both of you in different fashions. This is going on. Hey, can I make this connector? And you wouldn't think of health making that connection, but making that connection is what's going to make the change. So, I applaud and I appreciate you as well. And Katie, of course, as the communications manager, you are definitely a champion. You are always here, right? You are Miss Consistent. And communicating, of course. So now that we have that, we will not forget it.
No.
Marlon, but we also have you to thank too. Not only do you run GT, right, which is an organization that serves so many needs in our community, but the fact that you have this amazing platform with the conduit, the kinds of conversations that you host, the amazing updates from folks. And you're an amazing, gracious host, and you really elevate events and share information. So we're really lucky to have you too. And it's just amazing how we can all come together, work on things, and how we support each other even when we don't see each other for a long time.
Oh, shucks, ma'am. Well, I appreciate that. Well, it is 4:00. We made it through. Thank you for joining us. So good that everyone was able to come and tune in. Please share this out so that one, Kirsten can see it, but other people that had the link but just couldn't make the time. I know it was last minute, but I didn't think she was coming on. I thought she was already gone. So when she sent the email this morning, I was like, oh, she's actually coming on? Oh, I got to get some folks on. So it was just too last minute, unfortunately. But with that said, thank you for tuning in. We will have study session with City Council at 5:30 p.m. We want to thank Kids at Public Health Maria, and Jessica. Of course, Katie from the Bremerton Housing Authority, and Executive Director Jill Stanton from Bremerton Housing Authority. We want to wish, fair sales to Kirsten Jewell. And I am your host, Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We will see you, well, in about an hour, hour and a half. All right. Bye, everybody.